Hello, welcome to Members Only, a show centered around CMAC members and the projects they produce. My name is Johnny Bestina, and I'll be your host in today's edition of Members Only. And today we'll be talking to Tiffany Kirksey, producer of The Closing Crew, followed by Debbie Goodman and Bestina Mounenalath, the producers of Martial Arts Mania, a show centered in the Central Valley. First up, Tiffany Kirksey with The Closing Crew.
Things are great. The business is doing better than ever because of the show. I think the show's going to be a great success. It's kind of like the circus. Take that as a good thing or a bad thing, whatever. But personally, I love the circus. I feel like everyone is handling the crew pretty well. But some people are still struggling with being under a magnifying glass a little bit. But things are great. I don't know. It's gonna be good. I'm excited. I think everyone's excited. I think Samuel of all of it, he's kind of my supporter. My support system, and I think with his help and everything, we'll be good. We'll be good. Things are great.
It's a train wreck.
Hello and welcome back. Tiffany, thank you for being here today and joining us.
No problem.
Yeah, taking the time out of your day. So let's tell the audience a little bit about what your show was all about.
Well, I had this idea of this show for years. I've been a barista for almost 10 years now, actually.
Yeah.
And the absurdity things that would happen at the coffee shop, like I worked at Starbucks for many years, and I was like, this should be a show, like The Office. Like we have like interviews, and we just have like a reality TV style show. And once I moved back to Fresno, I got hired to be at Mia as a barista, and I was like, this is the perfect venue to display this TV show that I had the idea for. So after writing it for months, I got the volunteers and actors, and I just shot it.
Well, it's a great idea, and especially for me, I could vouch for being like a customer at places like that. And I kind of take notice here and there about the antics and little things that happen, when people are making your coffee, and some of the people that are actually there. So I can only imagine being on the other side working at a place like that. It's just more like, wow, did that just happen? That sort of thing.
Yeah, people get crazy with their drink orders. It's like, I guess because they don't have control over their lives, they have to control that little aspect of getting a non-fat 1%, 120 degree,
exactly.
drink. So
and that's just being a member at CMAC too, and being a community organization where we're always talking about how you can present your ideas, whatever they may be. And for you, you've been wanting to have this long-held desire to do a show like this, and finally you're able to do it through CMAC. So it's always great to see members come through and do something that they they present in their everyday life and things that people might not know about, whether it's through their work or personal lives. So one thing I want to mention too is that your show, for members out there who are watching, you don't necessarily need to have a series of shows. You can just do one special like you did in your case, right? So when you were producing that, because you said you had it written for a while, what were some challenges you faced in that?
I'm more of a writer and idea person. So the camera work, lighting, audio was very difficult for me. So that was the most challenging, just getting the shots that I wanted, the lighting, especially the audio. That was the hardest. And because it was all volunteer based, some people couldn't make it because of jobs or, they got sick. So like actors falling out was kind of difficult too. But we improvised a lot on the show, so that helped a lot.
That always helps. Yeah. I know. I'm sure you probably had similar situations for myself, and some members I've seen, they have a script laid out, but they have a section where it says like improvise here,
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was easy to do, especially you develop kind of relationships and you all know each other well at work, right? So it's like you kind of can bounce off each other, right?
Yeah, like most of the people that are in the show are usually they work with me, but they're also like regular customers that
Oh,
come in.
gotcha.
And I was like, hey, just come on the show.
That's awesome, yeah, and that's another thing I like to point out too is that in order to be in a CMAC production like yours, you don't need to be a member. You're just, if you're going to be the talent in front of the camera, it could be whoever you want. It could be your
Yes.
friends, it could be people you work with, like in your case, it could be, you know, just whoever you think is going to help make achieve your video. So I can say that I've seen you a lot recently. And I imagine, and even seeing working directly with you, you had some challenges that you talked about already with the audio and things like that.
Yes.
But I guess talk about a little bit of how you managed your schedule with working on your show, because a lot of members, I think, when I talk to them, they're like, oh gosh, I don't have time to come in. But how did you manage your schedule to fit the deadline, or at least the end point to your video?
Well, I mean, I work at night, so I
It
mean,
was
just
kinda
like,
easy to come in.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
would just come in the mornings and just edit and write and things like that. So the most challenging was just getting everyone to come out, because it would be after closing of the shop, so just having everyone there
At once.
yeah, at once, and then at really,
No,
really
that
late
goes.
at night. So
Gotcha, yeah, and that's another thing too. We try to be flexible at CMAC. We're open from 10 a.m. all the way to 9 p.m. Monday through Thursday. So those of you who are out there watching, members now, and perhaps new members, those of you on crew here, you know, you have plenty of opportunity to come in and edit your video and get it done essentially. I just got to ask, just remember, looking back at that highlight video, what was the dance thing about right there? Someone had some smooth moves right there. I guess.
oh, that's my friend Ian. Yeah, we're just be silly.
Just being silly,
Be
yeah.
silly in front of the camera.
Having
and-
fun, right?
Yeah,
You were
having fun and
making it, and
yeah,
Yeah.
just be silly.
awesome. So now that you've wrapped up, I believe it's your first show, right? Or
Yeah,
no,
my
it's-
first show.
What advice would you give to someone who is starting their show, whether it's a series or something similar to yours, like a short kind of film?
Just pre-production.
Pre-production.
Have it together, because once you're on the set, it's done. So have your shot list, have your actors ready. Just just pre-production, just fully, because that's gonna make it easier in the end.
Right, and
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I think one of the first things we say in our classes too is that you want to treat it as if you're just planning a camping trip. I've mentioned before, or even like if you're gonna, you know, plan a party, you're not just gonna be like, all right, everyone show up at 5, and then whatever happens happens.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
With video production, as you probably already know now, it's now that you've done your first one, it
Yeah.
can't work that way as much.
No,
You
no.
can improvise, but you still have to plan to when to improvise, which is
Yeah,
kind of,
because you'll be
know,
on set for like 30 minutes trying to set up a scene.
and it's
Yeah.
and you know, so I've heard some stories where, you know, you to set up one scene, it's going to take like for some people it's like an hour just to set up one scene that's going to last maybe 5 to 10 seconds. That's just the nature of production.
Yeah.
But with more crew, more volunteers, you can have a lot of help. Were you able to? You said you had some volunteers, but it didn't.
Yeah,
kinda
there's
off and
like
on?
there's only a couple, because because it was so late at night, and there was only a
gotcha.
few that could show up. So I would have maybe 2 or 3, and sometimes 1.
Gotcha.
So I mean, you can see in the show, you can see, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
the production value wasn't that great, but because I only had 1 or 2 people
Right.
to help me.
And a lot of
So-
the time, the magic is in the content too. Like in your case, your show is highly entertaining. So you know, if you miss like a scene here and there with like the lighting's off a little bit or something, you know, most of the time the audiences will forgive that because the content's so good and they're just tuned into the entertainment of it, and that's always a nice thing to see. And I saw that your show was very much like that too.
Yes.
Do you plan on doing any more shows after this?
Actually, I am filming on Friday, our
Oh,
second episode.
great,
So yeah,
okay.
definitely. If anyone wants to volunteer.
Yeah, calling all volunteers.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Friday.
Great.
Friday.
Okay, Friday, and that's going to be another field production, or are you going to be
Yes.
in the studio too? Okay.
Yes,
so
it's going to
mainly
be
field.
at Mia Kappa.
What is your favorite piece of equipment at CMAC that you like to use, or that you found that you like to use?
I really enjoy the new Sony cameras.
The new
They're
Sony cameras.
amazing.
Yeah,
The
and
quality is so great.
yeah, we're glad we're able to provide that for you. And you know, once you've have you used their smaller, newer
Yes,
Sonys? You're talking about those,
yes.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can actually upgrade too to the bigger ones if you like down the line.
Okay.
So, yeah. So you know, we're learning something new every day on this show. So. You know, if you're thinking about becoming a member, you are a member, remember we have so much content available for you, as Tiffany has taken advantage of, and you know, you've got it done. So we really appreciate we have content now. You have your show on YouTube now?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
And how is the viewership going? Are you getting
Yeah, I
good
got
buzz
like
out there?
probably like 170 views
That's
already.
pretty good
yeah.
for like, what, a week ago?
Like 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
so
Yeah, just friends and family
just
and
friends
all
and
that.
family, and it's going to
Yeah.
be broadcasting. Well, it has broadcast
Yeah.
already, so we can get your show onto CMAC channels as well as our YouTube page, or you could put it on your personal YouTube page, which a lot of our members opt to do. Let's see, for your next show, what kind of things do you have lined up already? We were talking about pre-production, but what do you have obviously your talents probably all lined up, but do you have
Yeah.
anything extra you're going to do different from the first one, or try to
definitely.
improve on?
Just shot list and storyboards.
Shot
Because
list, okay.
yeah, storyboards.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you storyboard, do you do are you pretty good with the illustrations, and do you do like that sort of thing? Or?
Not really. It's kind of like I try to, but then I get frustrated and I just do stick
Just-
figures.
yeah.
So, just stick figures.
As
and
long as
whatnot.
it's all in your mind, right? You know how you
Exactly,
want it to look, and that's
exactly.
what we encourage members to do is, if you have the vision for it, you can try to draw it out, but as long as you know what it's going to be like, and in your head, and you can communicate that to your crew. Do you kind of serve as a producer director role when you're on the set too?
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you film as well, or do you kind of have volunteers sometimes?
Well, yeah, I have volunteers, but yeah, I do all of it
do
too.
all of
but
it,
yeah,
so the-
yeah, volunteers, Anita, Ed,
Yeah,
they all help me.
they're all so helpful.
Yeah.
And you really get to know those members, and it's great because once they help you, if they need for something, you help them. So
Yeah,
it's like a nice
exactly.
trade-off, So, okay, Tiffany, we're about out of time. Thank you again for joining
No
us. It's great to
problem.
have you
It was
again.
great
If
to
you
be
need
on.
any help, any production help, just let us know. And we'll help
Oh,
you
I
out.
will.
And you have some pics of your volunteers here behind the cameras over there.
All
so
right, yeah.
hopefully they'll be willing to help out. So, all right. So, we're going to take a quick break and be joined soon by Debbie Goodman and Bestina Mounenalath. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Members Only. Joining me now is Debbie and Bestina, producers of the show Martial Arts Mania. Let's take a look at the show. welcome back. Wow, what an action-packed highlight video. This is great, by the way, because I could probably answer most of the questions I'm going to ask you. But we're doing it for the purpose of course, the exercise for the class, but also we're letting the audience know a little bit about you guys. So I guess let's start off by talking about the show. Debbie, what is the show about?
Well, the premise of the show, when I started it a few years ago, was I wanted to give local martial arts schools the opportunity to come on the show, talk about their style, and do a demonstration. My first guest on the show was a man named Jimmy Willis, who happened to know Eric Lee, very well-known, world-renowned martial artist Eric Lee. So I got really excited, and I said, do you think we could get Eric Lee on the show? Well, Eric was more than happy to give me an interview, and through Eric I met other people, and about a year and a half ago I got a phone call from a Hollywood producer, James Wilson, whose brother happens to be Don the Dragon Wilson, and they were coming out with a movie called The Martial Arts Kid, and he said, would you like to come down and interview the stars of my movie, Don the Dragon Wilson and Cynthia Rothrock? And I said, that would be fantastic. We had difficulty lining the two of them up on the same day. So I decided to pull my card and see just how much clout I had.
You're good at that, by the way.
I'm daring.
Yes.
And I said, you know, I've been dying to get an interview with James Liu. And I knew he knew James Liu, but I didn't know how well. And I said, if you can get me an interview with James Liu, I'll come down when he could do it. He says, well, he's the stunt coordinator on the movie. I said, well, there you go, win-win situation.
Nice.
A couple weeks later, Bestina and I found ourselves down in Southern California at the home of James Liu, and I got an interview with Don the Dragon Wilson and James Liu and Michael Baumgarten and James Wilson.
It's like you got the full package there, huh? You were able to get all the interviews in one spot.
Oh, it was great. Yeah. And through them, I met people like Jansen Panettiere, Chuck Zito.
Who is Hayden
Panettiere's little brother.
From, she's been in like, what, Heroes, the show, and some other things.
I watched Nashville.
Oh, Nashville. Okay, gotcha.
She plays Juliet, the evil character.
That's right,
yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Wow. Well, let's talk about, because CMAC has been a great tool for you, right?
Oh,
for you personally. I mean, you've
unbelievable.
talked about how it's come full circle for you.
It has.
You've been, martial arts has been a part of most of your life, right? And to be able, you even mentioned seeing Don the Dragon Wilson on, you know, movies and magazines, and, you know, it's always been something of interest. And now through CMAC, you're able to actually go out, and you actually met him, and you've interviewed him, and, you know, countless times, and that was because of something like CMAC. So talk about how you first found out about CMAC and decided to use it that way.
Okay. One of the members, Eileen Imperatrice, she knew that I was having a problem with, I won't mention the name, but a major bank. And I had heard about a video that a guy made and put on YouTube about United Airlines. A friend of mine said, this is what you have to do. You've got to make a video about this bank you're having an issue with. So I was talking to Eileen about it, and she says, you need to go down to CMAC. And I said, what's that? I came down the next day, went to the orientation meeting, signed up, made my little video, and then I thought, now what am I going to do? This is fun. I'm going to keep this up. So I had been on a show many years before up in San Francisco, Tap Mao Wong's Kung Fu Theater. So I thought, why not do it here?
Right.
And that's what gave me the idea.
Nice.
So, like I say, it started here in Fresno, and when I do interviews in Los Angeles, they ask me, how are you able to do this from Fresno? I said, oh, you wouldn't believe what we have in Fresno.
We have a lot. Yeah, it's growing here all the time. The video production world in Fresno is just really always on the up. So it's been kind of a win-win situation for all of us here, because we get bonus content from you. You sometimes take the cameras out and film at these martial arts conventions, but you also focus it in on local events too, martial arts schools, and you have Bestina and I to help you out sometimes, right?
You guys have been great. You are the best. We've had a lot of fun. We've gone to Dragon Fest 2 years in a row, and James Hong asked you for your card.
So already connections were being made. Yeah, James Hong. That was quite an experience just to even meet him. But So, Bestina, we don't want to ignore you here, all right? We
Oh,
wanna
it
ask you
happens. I'm the cameraman.
Oh yeah, we're
I'm
behind
normally
the
dressed in
scenes.
black.
That's right.
But
You're
today I
kinda hidden.
decided to match with Debbie here.
This is very nice too. Speaking of what you're wearing,
Mm-hmm.
talk about what you're wearing here. I know this is a special get-up you have here, right? And
This-
Bestina too.
This is actually a gift from Rick St. Clair.
Okay.
Rick has a Taekwondo studio in San Francisco on Terraville.
Okay.
And one of his students had this beautiful royal blue outfit on, and it's also a very lightweight gi. A lot of the gis are just really
Oh
heavy.
yeah, they're very heavy. Yeah.
And so I had commented on it, and Rick contacted Paloma over at Tiger Claw and
And there
shipped
you have
it to me.
Wait, how about that? Wow. See, so
So-
bonus there. And Bestina, what does she have on there? What is that?
This is a tradition. This is actually a traditional Chinese wedding gown.
Oh, wow.
The Cantonese, I believe, pronounce it Cheongsam.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's pronounced something differently in Mandarin, but I actually used to fit into that dress about 20
Hey,
years
You're
ago.
just passing it along now,
Just
right?
passing it
That's
along. I
great.
love them, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So, talking about a few of your productions, what is the biggest thing you've learned so far in terms of production when it comes to it? Maybe that would resonate out to be some advice for some members here. So, what is some things you've learned along the way?
The biggest thing about production is editing.
Editing.
I'm now
Mm-hmm.
at the point where I'm somewhat comfortable with editing.
Mm-hmm.
I like editing until it does something that frustrates me, and then of course I'm screaming for either you or Bestina
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
to
we'll
come
run
and,
up and
and
help her.
rescue me.
Yeah.
Pre-production, you need to plan,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes you can't. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to be working with. You don't know
Right.
if you're going to be indoors, outdoors. You have to be prepared for anything.
Well, things can change last minute, right? You
yeah,
could think, oh, I'm going to
absolutely.
go to this venue. I'm going to film indoors. There's going to be a few people inside. We're going to interview.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, guess what? You got to do it outside now, or something you have to adapt to. So, Bestina, have you encountered anything like that in Debbie shoots personally?
Oh gosh. Should
Countless
we
times.
bring up the Chinese New Year?
Oh my gosh.
I missed that one. I'm sorry.
Wait, which one? Yeah, the one in the studio.
The
or
one in the studio, yes. I think
With the
that's
dragon
or-
dance and
the
everything.
the
That's
lion
right. We had
dance,
the
actually.
the lion dance. We had some highlights earlier on that. How did that go for both of you?
Well, it was interesting because my Sifu, John Cho and I had gone up to San Francisco to do Tap Mao Wang's show, and we took a couple other students. And up there, Tap Mao Wang had done it so many times, they were prepared. And they cranked us out in probably about half an hour, 45 minutes. Well, here we took 4 hours because we were using 4 or 5 cameras. We used the jib. Everybody wanted to kind of their own input. No, it was a great show.
It was a great
It
show,
just took a very long time to film. It took 4.5 hours to film in the studio. And my Sifu said to me at one point in time, he says, Debbie, this takes a lot of work. And I said, you have to love it to do it.
It's a learning experience too, right? Once
Yeah.
you do a big one like that, you're like, well, maybe we'll do a different approach next time. Or
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
We'll bring it down a little bit next time. Not
Yeah.
quite so much, but it turned out to be a great show. Bestina did all of the editing on it because I couldn't touch it. I just couldn't touch it.
Well, I think part of it too is, and I'm sure Bestina can agree with me on this, is that we just have the general interest of production, and we like, even as employees here at CMAC, we like to help out too when we are interested in something. For me personally, martial arts has been something I've always loved and enjoyed. So speaking of that, what is your experience, because I'm going a little bit off topic of production now, just talking about the content you do. What are some evolutions, I guess, in martial arts that you've noticed since you started when you were younger? Like how, like MMA is real popular now.
Oh, yeah.
So how's the evolution happen between that?
Well, I was sort of out of the martial arts loop for a while. And so I've come back in. A lot of the same people who were popular back in the day, and when I say back in the day, I mean the 1980s, 1990s,
Gotcha.
are still popular today.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, the MMA wasn't even around then, and if it weren't for people like Don the Dragon Wilson, there probably wouldn't be any MMA. He is like the grandfather of MMA. He was
Mixing
an 11.
styles, right? That's what it's all
Well,
about. Yeah.
he was an 11-time world champion kickboxer, and his primary style is Kung Fu, Pai Lum Kung Fu. Don is actually one of my most favorite guests to have on
Mm-hmm.
the show, and it's simply because
Yeah.
he's very easy to interview. You just push the button and Don goes.
And he goes, right. He
Yeah.
was like doing the hands-on demonstration too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
something that was promised to me, and I can't remember how I bargained with his manager and got that, but
Yeah.
I said it on film. I said,
self-defense, right? 101 stuff, right?
that's
Yeah.
it, exactly. Don taught me some things that weren't exactly traditional martial arts
Mm-hmm.
moves, but they were ones that he had practiced and perfected. And,
Gotcha.
Bestina always brings up the head and the numbers, and it had to do with a move in football. You know how they have the numbers on the chest.
Oh, yes. Yep.
So
Yeah, and I can say we've encountered a lot of interesting production situations, but we always pull through, and we always appreciate the content. Bestina, we appreciate your help too, and we're glad we can get a continual show, which is almost, I feel like, on a weekly basis now with all the content you're doing, so we do appreciate that. And so we're about running out of time here, so thank you both for being here today. I'm glad I was able to interview you and let our audience know a little bit more about you guys and what we do too, so thanks again. All right, so that wraps it up for today's Members Only. If you'd like to see more about any of the shows we've talked about today, you can look for them on CMAC's channels, Comcast 93, as well as AT&T Channel 99. If you don't have Comcast or AT&T Uverse, you can go to www.cmac.tv to watch the live streaming of our channels online through CMAC's website. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.